It's weekly roundup time where we talk about things that have been going on or are on our mind in the tincubator each week. This week we're going to talk about FCC regulatory certification, which doesn't sound exciting, but I'll show you some cool tips and tricks that help you interact with the products that you're working with anyways. So let's cue the intro. Hi everyone, it's Marianne from Tincubate and welcome to the weekly roundup. We're in episode 12, I think. I know I've missed a couple of weeks here and there. I'm trying to do it weekly, but sometimes I just don't have the time in amongst all the product work we're doing. But this week, I want to talk to you specifically about regulatory certifications for FCC and how we know if the mods we're making to things are okay, and a little bit more about looking up FCC information. So why don't we start with talking about what is Fcc Cert. So FCC is a governing body in the United States that maintains compliance for a lot of different things. In this case, I'm talking specifically about electronics. So anything that is powered in the United States needs some sort of FCC compliance. Those may be a bunch of different testing routes. You may be able to find filings, you may not, but I'm going to show you how to find a filing so that you can check grants for yourself, tell you what matters and what doesn't matter, mainly because of this comment that I got on a TikTok, which is, if it's based on a board that's already FCC certified and we just modified the software, do we need to recertify it? And this is like a really good example of when you should be looking at a grant, an authorization grant, and seeing what's inbounds and out of bounds. And I'm going to show you how to do it for a product that we've done that we certified ourselves, which is a module, wireless LoRa module that I talk about all the time on here that we use in a lot of our products. It's the Northern Mechatronics NM180100 LoRa Bluetooth module based on the Ambiq Apollo 3 Blue and Semtech SX1262. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to pull up the website and show you how to look at a grant. So when you're looking at anything, you want to be able to find the FCC ID. If it's wireless, it needs to have an FCC ID somewhere, okay? So what I'm pulling up here, this is the official FCC website where you can find filings. I will put the link down below. But what you'll want to do is put in your grantee code, which is usually the first 5 digits. Unless it's like a really old product, it might be as small as 3 digits. And then the last part, which is the product code. So for this is Northern Mechatronics number. Every single thing they do will be under this number. And then all the different products will have their own SKUs or product IDs. Now I'm showing you this page because this is the official channel where you should look stuff up. But guess what, guys? That's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here to fccid.io. This is basically scraping that same database. I've never found data out of sync with it, but again, use at your own risk, and it's riddled with ads, so you'll be able to see what I've been shopping for Christmas and stuff like that. Anyways, you can search the ID here. What you'll see on here is all sorts of information about it, including frequency ranges, because this one has different modulation schemes being certified. It has Bluetooth, it's got 2 different sort of LoRa sets here, and all the exhibits, and most people don't know this, but you can actually see all sorts of information about all the products, including things like photos. Some things are held confidential, some things are held confidential for a period of time. There's all sorts of fun stuff in here. You can see test reports, you can get a lot of information about the electronics that you're looking at. So this is a great resource. You can click on a lot of these and actually see them. I actually did this filing, so I know it pretty well. But what you want to do is you want to go down to the bottom and you're going to see the grant. Here we go. So this is what a grant looks like. It will tell you things. There might be multiple grants here like this one. But the main thing you want to look for, if you want to know what you're doing and whether or not it's on board from a software perspective, is there are certain things you don't want to mess with. Antennas, power are big ones, modulation schemes, things like duty cycle and whatnot. Basically, you're trying to find what conditions it's been tested in, which should be sort of the worst case scenario, and make sure you're within that. And if you're within that, then whatever application you're doing on top, that really won't matter. This is more about the hardware and the capability of the hardware and the transmission that's going to happen. So if we look at this grant here, it's talking about what the output power is. This is in watts. The test reports can dig into it more in detail for you, but basically it's talking about where it can be located with other transmitters. There's some really important notes in this one, like this module can only be used with a host antenna circuit trace layout design in strict compliance with the OEM instructions provided. So there's all sorts of things within this grant that you want to make sure you are not breaking. And really what it comes down to, a lot of it comes down to EIRP, which is talking about a calculation that you can read all about on Wikipedia or do other research around, but you don't want to go above the max EIRP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pop open the test report just to take a glance at some of the things that would really matter in the test report itself. And yes, this is publicly accessible information that you should be able to get your hands on for every product that's gone through a filing with FCC, which is not every product, there are different rules, but every wireless piece of electronics better have some sort of filing around their transmitters at least. So in this test report, some of the important things for the various things, this is one of the LoRa filings. It's the max RF power. Don't crank up your power beyond that. The modulation in here, don't use different modulations than that. If you do, you're violating this grant, unless there's another test report for that one. And then we're looking at antenna information with the max gain. So again, you're supposed to use the same type or similar type and no more than the max gain listed here in order to make sure that you're within the rights of this grant. There's a ton of information in all of these. Another thing that's really useful is the user manual, which I have open here already. I know it's a good one because I actually wrote most of it, at least in the cert sections here. So it's actually the responsibility of the module provider, if you're doing something wireless with a module like this, to tell you what's inbounds and out of bounds, and to give you the notice and the constraints on that. So this is all meant to be helpful for you to see kind of what you can and can't do. I mean, it's not going to care. Very clearly, FCC is not going to care if you change like the data that you're transmitting, the data rates that you're transmitting at, as long as this grant is not being violated. They don't care what you add on top of it. They're really focused on those lower layers of the OSI model. And so like physical layer and all of the stuff that's kind of lower down that you can change, like levers you can pull that will actually impact the device transmission performance. And so the idea is you test it in a certain condition and you don't want to violate that grant. If you do need to violate that grant, there are paths through it, but trust me, it is not a nice path. If you want to hear about that path or any sort of other things, I mean, I do this for a living, but also I want to help you guys figure it out from more of a tinkering perspective and what matters. So toss some stuff in the comments if you want to learn more about anything specific that we talked about, and I'll try to do more content around that, especially on social media. I like to have chats on TikToks because then we can do a lot of back and forth with comments. So make sure you're on our TikTok or Instagram reels, follow us on social, subscribe, ring that bell on YouTube, as I've been told I'm supposed to tell people to do that too. And that's it for me this week, and thanks for listening. Again, please come join the conversation, be part of it, and interact with us, and we use that to shape what content we put up here. So have a great weekend, you guys, and we'll see you next time.